Welcome to Redacted tonight. This is a show where Americans in America covering American news are called foreign agents. Donald Trump told governors across the country that they needed to crush the protests. He said he would use the Insurrection Act to send the U.S. military after unarmed protesters. The Trump administration has declared war on the American people. But the joke's on him. The police in this country have been at war with the American people for generations. We showed you, Donald Trump. We're more fucked than you thought you could fuck us, and have been for hundreds of years, loser. Right now, I'm going to go through 16 facts about American policing that will change everything you think you know and 80% of the stuff you never thought you knew. Beat that, other shows. Number one. The American police system originated from slave patrols in the early days of this country. The slave patrols turned the streets of towns into surveillance routes for what was a quasi-military force. So from its earliest days, the American model was not some wonderful, holier-than-thou system. It was a racist tactic to protect the higher class from the downtrodden and oppressed. The hiring process for those patrols went like this. Question 1, are you white? Good. Question 2, are you not very bright and therefore don't have an important job like scientist or doctor that might get in the way of your beating black people time? Good. Third and final question, do you have a gun? Good. You're now an officer of the peace. So basically the hiring process has not changed. Except now the gun is provided to you. But don't worry, it's not just racial anymore. Nowadays, all of the working class are the oppressed. Professor Alex Vitale, the author of The End of Policing, writes, the reality is that the police exist primarily as a system for managing and even producing inequality by suppressing social movements and tightly managing the behaviors of poor and non-white people, those on the losing end of economic and political arrangements. Fact number 2, our police kill roughly 1,000 Americans a year, which is roughly 1,000 more people than some other countries kill per year. In 2016, The Guardian found that American police murdered 1,093 people. That's 3 lives extinguished by police every day. To put that in perspective, in Britain, the average per year is 3 or 4 murders by police. Not 300 or 400, 3 or 4. This means American police generally kill more citizens in a week than the UK will kill in a year. In 2018, Denmark and Switzerland's police killed no one. 0. What the fuck? They need to get their game face on. They literally let everyone just live. You let a few people live on a whim, and then before you know it, they're everywhere. Living people, that is. You're lousy with them. And your sergeant is like, what's with this people infestation? You haven't been letting them live, have you? What the hell am I paying you for? That's it. Turn in your badge and your Swiss Army knife. If you aren't going to murder unarmed civilians with your little corkscrew and tiny tweezers, then I'll find an officer who is. Fact number 3, between 2005 and 2019, only 35 officers had been convicted of any crime after having taken someone's life. Not just convicted of murder, but convicted of anything. If we assume the U.S. averages 1,000 police killings per year and that only 1 officer was involved in each killing, a low estimate, this means cops are convicted 0.25% of the time. 1/4 of 1%. It's a fucking rounding error, all right? But it gets worse. NBC reports only 3 officers have been convicted of the higher crime of murder between 2005 and 2019 and seen their convictions stand. That's a rate of conviction of 0.021%. This means police can murder 4,660 Americans and maybe 1 cop will get caught for it. Police get away with more murder than LeBron James gets away with dunks. It's insane. I would say there's essentially no ramification for police who kill people, but I'm sure they feel really, really torn up about it. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was down at the protests and the phalanx of militarized steroidal rhino punk stormtroopers carefully fired a burning chemical agent into my face, I could see in their eyes. They felt regret. Yep. So honestly, that's punishment enough, don't you think? Let's just leave them with their sadness. Moving on to who exactly our police are murdering all day long. Fact number 4, they're generally not killing hardened criminals, whatever the hell that means. Is that like fossilized criminals, like a mafia kingpin from the 1970s in a cement block at the bottom of the Hudson? Is that a hardened criminal? Anyway, point is, the Treatment Advocacy Center finds that 1 out of every 4 people killed by U.S. police was severely mentally ill. If you add in just mentally unstable, the number is probably well over 50%. So that means our police are running around murdering people who are really screwed up in the head. Thank goodness we had the cops to do that, or we'd have to get real estate agents to do it, or librarians or something. Now let's take a moment to disabuse ourselves of the liberal fantasy of policing. Fact number 5, the vast majority of what police do in America is not run around catching evildoers like on CSI or Law & Order or Die Hard or Starsky & Hutch or all other TV shows and movies ever made ever, with the exception of Toy Story. Oh wait, wasn't Tom Hanks' character a sheriff? Never mind then, Toy Story 2. I don't mean Toy Story 2, I mean Toy Story also, but also Toy Story 2. Professor Vitale writes that most cops average less than 1 felony arrest per year, meaning almost the entirety of a police officer's day-to-day consists of standing around and occasionally dealing with small or nothing crimes. These crimes, such as loitering or causing a disturbance, or they're designed to simply put people in the system. And of course, people of color are far more likely to be arrested for these things. Once in the system, the sentence can be much more serious for a future crime of loitering, or the atrocity of playing loud music, or the scandal of stealing a beer. And not just stealing a beer for anyone, but stealing a beer for a starving, blind, orphan child. Who needs a beer more than that kid? How dare you arrest him for that? So, if that's the normal policing, what about those awesome detectives we see in all the TV shows, right? The higher level cops, the ones who are loose cannons but always get the job done, even if they have to crack a few eggs to make an omelet, and even when they might be wildly racist and alcoholic, yet somehow lovable. But they don't play the politically correct games like not grabbing a woman's ass to signify "get me another coffee." What about those guys? Fact number 6, in real life, even detectives who make up only 15% of police forces spend most of their time taking reports of crimes they will never solve, and in many cases will never even investigate. Most crimes that are investigated are not solved. Basically, rather than working harder to solve larger crimes, our lawmakers have created hundreds of smaller crimes for police to nail citizens for. It's like talking to a stabbing victim and saying, sure, I understand you've been stabbed, but there are at least 100 people in town who have recently gotten splinters. We're gonna focus on solving those crimes. I mean, what are splinters if not teeny tiny stabbings? Fact number 7. In the past few decades, there has been a surge of bans on things like sleeping in public, begging for money, giving away free food, camping in public, sleeping in one's car. Laws like these only serve to make homelessness and helping the homeless illegal, and allow police to insert themselves in people's day-to-day, even just to upend their lives, basically. Because people begging for $1, they really do have it too easy. It's time we break that shit up. And we never take crimes off the books, right? Never is any crime taken off the book. So we've just made We've just made more and more of life illegal for the past 200 years. Nowadays, you can't take a piss or take a dump in an alley because it's a sex crime. You can't walk around because if people find you creepy, you're creating a disturbance. You can't sleep in public because that's considered camping. And you can't be awake in public either because that's loitering. Basically, the only way to be legal is to hide in your house or apartment. And the only way to afford a house or apartment is to get a job you hate serving donuts to dimwits on their way to the wax museum, and you thereby become a slave to the system. Public space is not for the public. Public space is for people walking to a store to buy a workout outfit that they can then wear when they aren't working out so that people think they work out. That is it. That is all. Anything else done in public is an arrestable offense. Thanks to these new laws, fact number 8. A study in New York City found that over half of those who cycle regularly through the prison system were homeless. Does anyone honestly think imprisoning the homeless helps them in any way? These meaningless so-called crimes serve to simply enforce the class structure. Fact number 9. These largest crimes in the nation and the world are often legal. And even when they aren't, they have nothing to do with your average police. Corporate executives endlessly decide to dump toxins in our water or keep baby powder on the shelves when they know it contains asbestos, or continue sales of an herbicide when they know it causes cancer, or push opioids on troubled Americans even as the bodies pile up. Generally, in such cases, no one will go to prison, no one will do a perp walk with their handcuffs on. You would think cops would love cases like those because they nab one CEO and they've solved 10,000 murders. It's incredible. Grab one member of the Sackler family and you've solved hundreds of thousands of opioid killings. But no, not the concern of law enforcement, because that goes against the class hierarchy. The rich rule over the rest of us, and the police protect the rich. As Michelle Alexander, author of The New Jim Crow, has put it, we need an effective system of crime prevention and control in our communities, but that is not what the current system is. This system is better designed to create crime and a perpetual class of people labeled criminals. So what's the effect of putting millions of police just everywhere around the country and adding thousands of laws to the books? You end up with a shitload of arrests. And now, fact number 10, the U.S. has the largest prison population globally. That's right, we're the largest prison state in the world. I thought we were the largest buttered popcorn eaters, but no, it's a prison state. And also the buttered popcorn thing. Fact number 11. Police, in some regards, commit more crime than average citizens. Police now seize more from citizens via civil asset forfeiture than the amount of property stolen by street criminals in burglaries. If only we had some sort of law enforcement agents who could arrest the police. Damn. Okay, so if police are not protecting the citizens, who are they protecting? Well, it's really more, what are they protecting? Fact number 12, they're protecting the class hierarchy. They're protecting the private property of the rich and the corporate state. They're protecting corporate greed. They're protecting business corruption. They're protecting wealth extraction. They are protecting the oligarchs. Sometimes they even literally protect inanimate objects against unarmed citizens. For example, at Standing Rock, the law enforcement were steadfastly guarding a pipeline against the people who actually owned the land through which it stabbed and drank the water it would ultimately contaminate. Police are not doing the job most people think they are, and they act like military patrols on the streets of the land of the free, which we can all now agree is false advertising. It's like the French tickler. You plunk down your 75 cents in the condom machine, and then you find out it's not French, it doesn't tickle, and she was not on the ride of her life. And the glory hole has no glory, not even a little bit. On to fact number 13. Police academies spend on average 110 hours on firearms and self-defense, yet only 8 hours on conflict management and de-escalation. This means, generally speaking, police spend 12 times as many hours learning how to shoot and kill people as learning how to avoid shooting and killing people. Considering how things are going, de-escalation should be like 90% of their classes. It should just be instructors yelling at trainees. Step 1, put your gun away. Step 2, if you must pull out your gun, put your gun away. Step 3, you're a fucking idiot, put your gun away. You're not even smart enough to aim at the right thing, much less hit the wrong thing you aimed at. Step 4, if you fear for your life while facing down a 76-year-old man in pajama pants wielding a pitching wedge, then you're pathetic and you should put the gun away. Fact number 14, police are not well trained at all. In most states, goddamn barbers are required to get more training than police officers. Even CNN reported the minimum training requirement for Michigan police officers is 594 hours. To work with electrical signs, you'll need 4,000 hours of experience. This might explain why electrical sign workers are not accidentally killing a lot of black people. Not a lot of news headlines reading neon signs saying hot girls murders mother of 3. Fact number 15. Most police officers are not bright. Some cities don't even want smart cops. In fact, a court back in 2000 upheld the right of police departments to avoid hiring intelligent officers. Yes, most cops are cerebrum incapacitado, which is not a word, but they don't know that. They don't know that because they are unsmart, and they're proud of it because they think it's a good thing. Fact number 16. Some departments literally don't want officers who give a shit about you. Former Philadelphia police captain Ray Lewis has said police departments don't want to hire officers who perform well on empathy tests. And pro-police website officer.com has published articles saying empathy is dangerous for policing. I'm not saying cops don't care about you. I'm saying in some cities they're hired because they don't care about you. That certainly sounds like the opposite of what you want for a job opening that includes the phrase gun included. To sum it all up here, our policing system is a draconian, military-style Orwellian shitstorm used to consolidate an entrenched class hierarchy. We need a completely new and different and smaller and less violent model, and we need it starting 400 years ago. Coming to you from Washington, D.C., the belly of the beast, this is Redacted tonight, and we'll be right back with a lot more. Welcome back. Despite all my efforts, I am still Lee Camp. During these recent demonstrations, peaceful protesters met with a curious new phenomenon: unidentified police wearing no badges nor department insignia. For more on this, we go to our senior person on the police beating beat, Naomi Karavani, in front of the White House. Naomi, what's going on?
Hi, Lee. See, out here in the streets of D.C., everyone's invited to the party. The FBI, the Border Patrol, the Park Police, the Military Police, Homeland Security, the DEA, the ATF, the U.S. Marshals, the Metropolitan Police, the Capitol Police, the Secret Service, the Federal Protective Service, D.C. National Guard, the Postal Police, Rent-A-Cops, and my personal favorite, the Mystery Police. If you're not in riot gear on Capitol Hill right now, can you really call yourself a federal agent? Imagine missing all those group photos. The Fed FOMO must be devastating.
That looks like a completely unnecessary show of force.
See, Lee, D.C. is not a state. It's technically a joke. The military or federal officers from any agency can be called to subdue this federal territory, and there's no shortage of them. There are about 130,000 civilian law enforcement officers employed by the federal government, only about half of which come from the major brand names like FBI, ATF, Secret Service, DEA, and CBP. So when people talk about defunding the police, which police are they talking about? They gotta be specific.
So as for the unmarked cops, it's not illegal to cover up their badges?
They don't wear badges, Lee.
What about name tags?
What name tags?
What about
Lee, there's nothing identifying them. Nothing. They're like fucking stormtroopers. Did you see handwritten name tags on the stormtroopers like, hi, my name is Darth. What's your name? No!
Okay, fair point. So how do we know unmarked officers are even officers and not just cosplaying white supremacist militias?
Well, we can't know that for sure. There are so many obscure police departments, like the Police for the National Gallery of Art, the museum that's home to the world's most famous artists' rough drafts. The museum has a shooting range for their cops tucked away in their basement.
Really?
They have a mission to fatally wound the guy who's trying to steal Picasso's Head of a Woman pastel, something Picasso never wanted anyone to see, which we stole from the Germans who stole it from the Jews. Wow, you look as unamused as she does.
Well, we're both really disappointed. What about these anonymous police at the protests? Who are they? Are they Secret Service or?
No, the Secret Service isn't even that secret. If it were, their vests wouldn't say secret. Not a secret anymore, guys. They can't be trusted with government information. I wouldn't even tell them the deodorant I use, which happens to be the brand Secret.
Can we get to the secret police who are still kind of a secret? The unidentified police who are avoiding any accountability at a protest about police accountability?
Okay. Here they are. Unfortunately, if they wanted to remain unidentified, they could have worn a mask. Now's the best time. It's like Fashion Week for the suspicious.
So where are they from? Just tell me already.
All right, the secret police are from... You're not going to like this. They're tactical teams from the Texas Bureau of Prisons.
Tactical teams from the Texas Bureau of Prisons?
Okay, I think the entire D.C. metro area knows now. Thanks, Lee.
Good, I'm glad.
Yeah, I understand people are upset because prison riot cops don't usually have to deal with the First Amendment. They can use whatever force they want. But this Gestapo makes the local police look pretty good.
So DC's being treated like a prison.
An open-air prison. But don't get so down on D.C. The NYPD has been covering up their badge numbers illegally with bands they say are a sign of mourning for the New York police officers who passed during COVID-19. And they still aren't wearing masks. When an NYPD officer was asked about the band hiding his badge number, the band is legal as long as it's not covering the number, he shrugged and said, "It's old. It fell down. You see, not all elastic is good. There are some bad elastics. I've had that experience with some old bras, Lee."
When these police are unidentified, it seems clear they intend to brutalize protesters with no accountability, and putting prison riot police out there is even crazier.
Okay, so what are you saying? We should defund the IRS police, defund the U.S. Mint police, defund the Bureau of Engraving and Printing police?
Yes,
defund
yes, to
the Supreme
all
Court
of the defunding,
police,
yes.
defund the
Thank you,
Capitol
Naomi.
Police.
Now it's time to talk about some of our other developing stories. Here with me is Redacted correspondent Natalie McGill.
Hey, Lee.
Natalie, how you doing?
Good.
What stories you got for us?
Well, yeah, so there are states and cities across the country that are already trying to do some reforms following the protests over George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and countless other names. And
it's about time.
Yeah, exactly. So in New York State, for example, they're actually going to make police disciplinary records public, which is reversing a decades-old law that frankly never should have been on the books. It's kind of the equivalent of like a teacher helping a student hide their bad report card from their parents.
I love how if you're like 18 and a dumb kid and you steal something from a store, that's on your record forever, yet cops can like kill a dude and it's not.
And it's like secret.
Secret, yeah.
Yeah, so also in New York, lawmakers are planning to make it illegal to call 911 on a black person for a dumb reason, like, well, pretty much existing, but the latest examples have been like selling water, asking somebody to leash their dog in Central Park.
Can I say, while I agree that people should not be doing that, isn't that like just admitting, oh, listen, we have really dumb racist cops that may show up and may kill someone, so we're gonna make it illegal for you to call us because we're so fucking out of our minds that you shouldn't call us. This reminds me of like when women are at colleges or taken to a seminar or training or whatever about how to avoid getting raped, and they're like, Well, are the
Why don't you
guys in the
just-
other room getting a training on how not to
Yeah,
rape?
why don't you just not rape?
Yeah.
Why don't we do that
Rather
first?
than be worried about these phone calls, why don't we tell the cops, hey, stop killing people?
Yeah, a revolutionary idea.
Yeah.
But so that's in New York. In LA, across the country, Mayor Eric Garcetti is planning on pulling $150 million out of the LAPD budget to put toward peace centers, damages for people who have faced discrimination, jobs for young adults, and here in DC, the DC City Council passed an emergency bill that goes into effect for 90 days. It would ban the police from using military-grade weapons, banning chokeholds. It would call for a police reform commission. What it doesn't do, though.
Well, hold on, before you get to that, I want to get to that, but why only 90 days?
Yeah.
Does that mean all the cops are going to be sitting there ready to choke? They're like, if just wait 90 days, I can choke you.
It's bubbling over. Like day 89, somebody's going to slip.
What? This should be common sense. Not 90 days.
Yeah, no.
We're going to act like normal civilized humans for 90 days and then gloves are off.
Yeah, well, that's already the bare minimum, but what this doesn't do is address the city's already bloated police budget, because prior to all these protests, Mayor Muriel Bowser called for a substantial increase to the police budget in a city that's frankly over-policed. We have MPD, we have Park Police.
Everything Naomi
said. I'm not surprised like Paw Patrol isn't out there like biting people's ankles. Like we have enough. So, and then that also dovetails into the juggernaut, which is Minneapolis City Council is planning on totally defunding police. And what that looks like right now, is kind of up in the air. But, right after the city council voted on this, it can't be vetoed by Mayor Jacob Frey, who is
who's against it.
Yeah, he was totally lamented and booed for being against it. And this is the first time that a force as large as Minneapolis is being dismantled. But it has happened in the past in other cities. I think one of the examples that people keep pointing out to is Camden, New Jersey. They actually dismantled their police department in 2012 because it was so corrupt, it was unsalvageable.
Right. And how'd it go?
And the crime actually ended up dropping over 7 years by 42%. Now, it didn't go as far as what people really want, which is reallocating the money to other resources, so that when somebody's having a mental health crisis, you don't send in somebody with a gun. You send in a therapist. It's
a good plan, yeah.
Yes,
Not to send in somebody with a gun. Yeah. Who's send in somebody with a gun who's obey my commands precisely or I will kill you. And they're yelling that at someone who's not.
Yeah, they're not there.
They're not there. It makes no sense. So yes, I am very excited about Minneapolis. I hope that goes through. But I think you're right. It depends on. Let's see how this actually goes about. I feel like the police force could just keep trucking along like some sort of demon robot, where you're like, I already took the batteries out. I don't understand. It's like, nah, nah.
No, it's solar powered now. It goes beyond the battery.
Yeah. Natalie, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. And here are your headlines from the future. On Monday in the New York Times, you'll read, police officer convicted of murder. Wait, never mind, that was something else. And on Tuesday, you'll learn, sidewalk message of peace, love, and solidarity clearly written in blood. Well, good intentions. And finally, a week from now, suddenly woke police departments nationwide agree to kill unarmed black people in ways other than chokeholds. Thank goodness. That's our show. But if you're watching this on YouTube, please take note. We will soon no longer be putting the full episodes on YouTube due to their heavy censorship of us. Instead, full episodes will be available on RT's free app. Get it at portable.tv/download. We will still be putting all the segments on YouTube, just not the full episodes. Also, grab your copy of my political comedy book at leecampbook.com. Until next time, good night and keep fighting.